Hello and welcome back to Market House, the show where we talk all things Disney. My name is Caleb and I am the host of this show. And it's been a great week. This past week was fun. We finally watched Jungle Cruise, which I know we're really late to that, but waited till it was free on Disney Plus because I'm cheap that way. And I wasn't sure I wanted to spend $30 to see it, premiere access. That's Disney's term for seeing it kind of as a theater release, the same time period as a theater release. And it was a good watch. We enjoyed it. It's not going to go down as one of my favorite movies, but it was enjoyable. I think I'm glad I waited till it was free, but it is definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it already. Halfway through the movie, I paused it and I turned to my wife and was like, "This kind of feels like." The next generation's Indiana Jones, even though they're continuing the Indiana Jones series. But it kind of feels like a modern day Indy with Emily Blunt and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It was a fun watch. If you haven't seen it already, definitely give it a go on Disney Plus. You can't, you're not going to be out $30, so you don't really have any excuses anymore. Just a couple hours of your time, and you can see that. And another movie we watched, which is not Disney, but Dune, another movie that kind of got, I wouldn't say mixed reviews. I think mostly were positive, but some folks didn't like how kind of slow burn it was, or whatever. It was very, very sci-fi, right? Kind of hard to understand in certain parts, but I was pleasantly surprised. That was one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. The cinematography was unreal. The music was insane. Hans Zimmer always does a great job. But again, if you haven't seen that, definitely see it. Don't listen to the people complaining about it being slow. They're just used to seeing Transformers movies and, big blockbuster, mind-numbing junk. So anyways, it's worth watching. But enough about movie talk because there's a ton of news to cover. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So first up, we have Magic Band Plus and Hey Disney are both coming to Disneyland. So these are both, one of these things already exists over in Disney World, which is Magic Band, and then Magic Band Plus, which is the new iteration of this technology, is going to be released here, I think, in the next few months. And Hey Disney is pretty much new to both coasts. So Hey Disney is essentially a Amazon Echo or Amazon whatever the heck they call them in a Disney plastic stand. So if you're staying at one of the Disney resorts, essentially you'll be able to say, "Hey Disney," instead of "Hey Alexa," or Alexa. I'm sorry if I set off your Alexa, my apologies. That's the most annoying thing in the world. But hey, you know what? Actually you're going to say "Hey Disney" instead of that other word to activate this voice assistant. And I think you can ask pretty basic things like, "Hey, what's the weather today?" Or how late does Magic Kingdom stay open? Or, when are fireworks at Disneyland? So pretty basic stuff. I don't see this adding a ton of value other than your kids, having fun with it for 20 minutes and then forgetting it exists. So I don't know. It sounds like, again, another just corporate sponsorship with Amazon. But Magic Band Plus is the more exciting thing, I think, because, Magic Bands are dope. They're super fun. They're very convenient. You can pay with them. You can use them as your room key if you're staying on site and use them as fast passes. Or that doesn't exist anymore, but lightning lanes, I guess, you can load up on your watch. So it's a pretty cool feature, and I'm excited that Disneyland's getting it. My biggest question is it going to have the same functionality as the East Coast? And I think it does. They specifically mentioned Magic Band Plus, which is, that adds the interactive features with the fireworks shows and parades that lights up and stuff. Again, I think a worthless feature, but I'm wondering if it comes with the payment features and all that good stuff. So interesting tidbit there. So look out for that in 2022. Next up, we have some very exciting news, and that is Fantasmic and World of Color are returning in 2022. So finally, we are getting some more nighttime entertainment, and my personal favorite, World of Color, is going to be back sometime in 2022. So that's the time frame we have. Nothing really specific, but Josh D'Amaro, who's the chairman of Disney Parks, announced this at Destination D23. So it's coming straight from the source, from the guy on top. That they're coming back. So again, not very specific timing, but we've got a 12-month window that those things can return. I'm assuming they'll be back before summer, when it gets really busy, or hopefully before spring break, their first kind of rush for the season. So, or the busy season. So again, exciting news. Again, not very specific, but we have a 12-month window when those fun shows can return. Next, we have some big changes coming to Downtown Disney. For you East Coast folks, that is our version of Disney Springs. It's about a third of the size of yours, or probably even a fourth. So not as big and fancy as Disney Springs, but it is a very charming part of our park. So don't bag on it. It's cool, and it's, I would argue, in some ways better than yours. So I'm just kidding. Both are great. But yeah, Downtown Disney, some changes are coming. And those changes are the AMC Theater is finally being removed after being closed for over a year, I think, at this point, and is going to be replaced with a grassy area and, quote, guests to relax, as well as an area for some events that will be held in Downtown Disney. So it looks like they'll, I think there's like a stage and stuff. There is a stage there. It looks very temporary, though. It's not really built into anything. It's kind of freestanding there currently, but it looks like they're going to have, a big kind of chill, relaxed park area for Downtown Disney, and utilizing space that has been kind of wasted for over a year. And in the process of this, unfortunately, I think we're losing a few locations in Downtown Disney, and those three are Earl of Sandwich, Sugar Boo & Co., and Starbucks, which is their second location. So don't freak out. The big fancy one that's down closer to the Esplanade, that one's staying. The second location, kind of the little tiny one down the alley there, is going to be removed. So yeah, Earl of Sandwich I know was a favorite by most. I've never eaten there only because they don't really have any gluten-free options, so us weird allergy people can't eat there. But so that's being removed, which is a fan favorite, which is unfortunate. Sugar Boo & Co., which was some retail location. I don't know if any folks are upset about that. And then Starbucks, again, was kind of redundant. There's another one down the way. So, so those are closing. We're getting some grass, essentially, in Downtown Disney. So if you like chilling down there and grabbing some dessert or a drink and just hanging out, this is some good news for you. The next item we have is some more news about the DVC Tower coming to the Disneyland Hotel. DVC stands for Disney Vacation Club, and that's essentially Disney's, timeshare program. So it's, you spend a very large amount of money, usually in the tens of thousands of dollars for points. And so I think, let's say you buy, 150 points. And I think these, if you buy straight from Disney, these contracts are good for like 20 years. So you own these points for 20 years, and that means an obligation for 20 years. And you buy into this, timeshare program, and you can use points to book Disneyland resort vacations. So, long story short, the Disneyland Hotel is going to be receiving a new tower, so a fourth tower, I believe. There's 3 there now, which are normal hotel rooms. The fourth tower is just going to be made up of DVC rooms. So you'll have to be a DVC member to stay here. And there's ways of renting them outside of the system. And again, there's a lot of detail in there. But anyways, we have a first look. They released some concept images of the new tower, and it's beautiful. It's, mid-century modern, very pretty. It looks very, very nice. Again, unfortunately, it's kind of limited to folks that either go and jump through all the hoops to rent DVC points, basically borrow them from somebody, pay them for those points, and stay there, or, just have to buy into the DVC membership. So it's not as easy as just going on Disneyland's hotel and booking for, $800 a night, whatever it's going to cost. But anyways, yeah, so it's coming. There's no date yet on when this is coming or when construction starts. But again, we have some concept images. They're available online, Disney Parks blog, or, you always go to Walt Disney World News Today, any of those major Disney blog sites, and check out those images. All right, the next couple of items are specific to Disneyland. But first up, we have big news for Rise of the Resistance. So, looks like they're going to be opening a virtual queue and hybrid standby kind of combo starting Monday, November 22nd, which is today. The day that the podcast gets released is when this is going active. So it looks like Disneyland will begin the day with begin the day with standby queue access for Rise of the Resistance, and the park could potentially activate the virtual queue on certain days and times. The virtual queue will be paused during the test. So it sounds like it's going to start as standby. If it gets too long, maybe they'll open up virtual queue, or on certain days they'll have it open from the beginning. So again, there's not a ton of information, kind of vague, but I guess from now on, just plan on waiting for 2+ hours for Rise of the Resistance. So it's kind of a combo of like bad news, good news. Great news for those folks who could never manage to grab a virtual queue spot, a boarding group in the morning, because it is really hard. But terrible news for the folks that have really good luck and were able to get it all the time and no longer, returning and waiting 30 minutes to ride it. It looks like it's going to be just a normal line, which means waiting a while. So anyways, that change is coming up. So keep that in mind for your trip planning. Maybe set aside a few hours for that experience, because it is worth it, in my opinion. And finally, our final news item. I know there's a lot, but we're here at the end. Pelican's Landing, the new multi-level dining seating area in New Orleans Square, is finally open. So Harbor Galley, if you haven't been there, is that kind of little shack, that little building on the right. If you're walking past New Orleans Square on your left-hand side, the main drag kind of thing, you keep going up towards Critter Country. On the right, you'll see this quaint little dining location on the right-hand side near the water. And so that's Harbor Galley, and Pelican's Landing is the new seating area located right in front of there. So again, for most folks, you're going to go, who the heck cares? Who cares about seating? But for the Disney nerds, it's a big deal because it's new. So it's a really cool theming. Again, nothing too special or to report on. Just if you want to get, those famous lobster rolls or a baked potato, you can now eat that right in front of the restaurant. All right, so that brings us to our kind of main segment for this week's episode, and that is the Disney Cruise Line. And I know this may seem a little random, but honestly, I really miss it right now, and I thought it'd be a good time just to chat about it. I mean, there's not much else to talk about right now with both sides, both coasts of Disneyland and Disney World. Everything's been reported on that can be reported on, so let's go ahead and focus on something totally different, and that is the Disney Cruise Line. So, I mean, this time of year, we miss it a ton because the last 2 cruises we've been on, actually my only cruises I've ever been on, and I'll tell you why I haven't cruised before Disney Cruise Line, but the only cruises I've ever been on, we've gone in January and February. So usually right now in kind of weird COVID pandemic times, we'd be leading up to a cruise. So the feels are at highest capacity right now because we miss it so much. But good news is we have an Alaskan cruise planned for later this year, which I think is going to be a ton of fun. So anticipation has been building for over a year now because it was canceled due to the pandemic. So again, we're just getting excited. So let's go ahead and just talk about it. I know, I think a lot of folks have not been on a Disney cruise, and it doesn't. Again, when I heard they had a cruise line, it was like, what the heck, Disney on the sea? Like, what? How does that work? Are there rides on the ship? So anyways, we'll dive into that and kind of what to expect. But it is a very, very good time. So again, spoiler alert, I love them, and it's the only reason I was ever even interested in going on a cruise, because my wife grew up going on cruises, growing up with her family, and she told me what they did on them, and I'm like, that sounds terrible. I don't want to be stuck on a floating ship out in the middle of the ocean with thousands of people that I don't know, and it sounds like a petri dish, and and it turns out to be true. People do get sick a lot on these cruise ships, and you hear about the kind of horror stories about COVID and those poor people stranded on that ship for 2 weeks or whatever, how long. But, so anyways, Disney kind of changed that for me, and I'll tell you why. Let's start off with kind of a brief DCL, us us people close to the cruise line, we shorten it because Disney Cruise Line's too much to say, so we shorten it to DCL and sound like jerks when we go around talking about it. But yeah, so if you're not familiar with the Disney Cruise Line, let me give you that brief 101. So there are 4 ships in total. There's the Magic and Wonder. They're the oldest and the smallest ships, and the Dream and Fantasy, which are the newest and the largest of the ships. The Magic and Wonder hold 24 guests, and the Dream and Fantasy hold 4,000, so nearly double that of the Wonder and Magic. There's a 5th ship being added in the summer of next year, 2022, and that is called the Disney Wish. That is even larger than the Dream and Fantasy, but still only holds 4,000 guests. So it seems like they're allocating more space to kind of entertainment areas, restaurants, common areas, and less about the stateroom. So more room to have fun, I guess. So they have very similar itineraries to other cruise lines. They're a heck of a lot smaller, I will say that. There's only 4 ships with the Disney Cruise Line. Royal Caribbean and Carnival have like a cajillion billion compared to them. So way smaller on scale-wise, but offer kind of similar schedules, itineraries as the others. So I won't dive into what that is. But yeah, essentially Bohemian and Caribbean cruises are kind of their bread and butter. So that's where most people go because that's, the most convenient, I guess. But the major difference between a Bohemian cruise with Disney Cruise Line or a Caribbean versus the others is that Disney has their own private island called Castaway Cay. And again, other cruise lines may have their own island junk, but you cannot beat Disney with theming for anything, right? Any themed event or thing. So let alone the cruise ship itself, but also you give them kind of Imagineers free reign to design an island. You can imagine what they do, and they did that on Castaway Cay. There's another one coming, I think in the next few years. It's called, I'm already forgetting. Lighthouse, I don't know. There's another island being developed by the company in the next few years, and I think the Wish will be bringing people to that new island. But let us address kind of the main, I think, hesitations people have about going on a Disney cruise. And I think number one being that cost, right? Disney Cruise Line does have the reputation of being insanely expensive, and I'm not going to argue with that point. It is an investment. It's very expensive. Again, when you compare the cost to a Royal Caribbean, to a Carnival, Norwegian, the whole bunch of them, you're looking at, it's probably not double. Maybe double in some situations. It's a significant increase. But let me try and kind of address that with the differences in the experience you'll have on a Disney cruise versus one of the main cruise lines. And that is, number one, Disney does not charge for soda. Now, soda, does not add up to a $2,000 difference or whatever, a $1,000 difference. But yeah, it does help. It does help because I think on other cruise lines, you have to pay for drink packages, and imagine spending that for a family of 4. That adds up pretty quick. Also, reason number 2 is there are first-run movies shown on Disney cruises. So, Disney being the giant media company it is, it does own a few movies and the rights to those. So instead of, going, oh, crud, the new Pixar movie is being released while we're on the Disney cruise. No worries. You can actually see that movie free of charge. I put that in quotations because, you paid to be on the cruise. So I'm sure the cost is built into there somewhere, but you can see that movie free of charge on your cruise, which is pretty sweet. So we did that. I think it was Maleficent, or I don't remember. Anyways, one of the movies that came out while we were on the ship, we watched, and it was pretty fun. It's cool kind of seeing a movie on a floating ship. Number 3, a way different environment on these cruises versus other cruise lines. Again, I've never been interested in going. I haven't been on another cruise, so you may go, I discount your opinion because you haven't experienced it firsthand. But from my wife's descriptions, from my family's descriptions, my parents and some other people I know have all been on different cruise lines. And yeah, they admit at the end of the day, it's kind of a more party feeling, a lot of young folk, some young whippersnappers from college on there having a good old time, which is great. There's things for everybody. Personally, I go on these vacations to hang out and relax and not get absolutely wasted and, pass out in the swimming pool. But some folks take that opportunity and do that on these cruises. And on Disney, you won't see that. And that is because it's, a lot of families. And again, it's even if there were a bunch of young folks to go on the ship, I think the environment and the way, I don't know, the ship is set up, all that good stuff, it just kind of, I don't know, it's not as welcoming to kind of behave that way. I don't know how to explain it, but less riffraff going on the Disney Cruise Line. Number 4 is that Disney customer service is absolutely outstanding on these cruise lines. And the cast members on these ships are absolutely amazing. And there's arguments to be made about Disney's customer service going downhill these past 5 years or so at the parks. But I will say that does not apply to the cruise lines, because I honestly think that the experience that you get and the customer service that you receive on these ships are what you used to receive at the Disney park. So if you guys miss that special Disney magic, that special Disney customer service, the ones that the books write about, right? There's a million books on how Disney treats their customers or their guests. I think you can still experience that on the Disney cruise ship. So absolutely amazing. No complaints there. They are so welcoming, so helpful, and really make your vacation, very magical, like they promise. And again, the cleanliness is insane. So they always win like these awards for cleanest ships because they take it very seriously. Even pre-COVID, pre-pandemic times, they cleaned their ships significantly more than the rival cruise lines. And number 5, and finally kind of thing, Disney theming. You can't beat it. So again, you go on a regular cruise ship, which again, I'm not trying to bag on other cruise lines because there's, I think, if I can go on a cruise for $500, I'd do it too. But this is why I'm trying to justify and make myself feel better for spending this obscene amount of money on a cruise. So when you spend this kind of cash, you do get the theming. So again, these ships are beautiful. I think the first ship was built in 1999, if I'm not mistaken, or 98, and that's the Magic. And it looks like it was built 10 years ago, maybe. It is very clean. They keep everything, current and modern. They update the ships constantly. And again, the Disney theming. You can walk in and you're like, holy smokes, I'm in, an animator studio. Like Animator's Palette is one of the themed restaurants on the ship, and it's super, super cool. It looks like you're seated in this animator's workshop essentially, and you can see like pictures being drawn on the walls like real time, and it's super magical, super fun. So again, you cannot beat Disney theming. So that brings us to kind of our experience on the Disney Dream, and that is the ship we've been on twice now. And so it has 3 themed restaurants, and let me give you the names of those. Animator's Palette, which we've already covered. Royal Palace, which I would argue is the least themed or the weakest themed restaurant. That's it's supposed to look like Ariel, I think. Royal Palace? No, I may be wrong. Anyways, that's Triton's. That's on the other ships. But the Disney Dream is kind of like, it's a loosely themed, like Cinderella feeling princess restaurant. It's okay. And then finally, Enchanted Garden, which is really, really, really cool. Essentially, imagine I think it's supposed to be themed after like a French porch, or a restaurant outside. So it feels like you're sitting outside because of the way they themed it and the way the lighting is. And I'm not going to give away too much, but there's like essentially these light fixtures, which look like flowers, change throughout the dining experience. And what starts off as dusk slowly turns to nighttime while you're eating. So in the course of the meal, it goes from light to dark. And again, it's very subtle, but again, if you're a Disney freak and Disney theming freak, you'll love it. It's a very cool restaurant. But let me kind of tell you what a day in the life on the ship is like. So, you'll wake up. The first day you actually board around like 3 or 4 o'clock. The ship takes off around that time, and I won't talk about the first evening, but let's go ahead and just wake up on day 2 of the cruise. And so, you can choose to eat breakfast at 2 places. You can go to Cabanas, which is their buffet, Again, this is pre-COVID I'm talking about, so some things might have changed. I know for sure you can't self-serve your stuff at Cabanas anymore. It's all served by the staff. But again, we're talking pre-pandemic because we haven't been since then. But yeah, you can choose to eat at Cabanas, or you can choose to eat at one of the sit-down restaurants for breakfast. And we usually choose that option only because of my allergies, and it's just easier to work with a waiter or waitress to kind of explain what my limitations are instead of doing the buffet route and asking every single person, hey, is that gluten-free? Oh, is that gluten-free? Oh, does that have wheat in it? Blah, blah. So we choose to eat at one of the sit-down restaurants, and then from there, you can do whatever your heart desires. So there's no pressure to go wait in, line for something. It's very relaxing. It's just very like, let's just kind of see what comes up. So again, some of this is going to overlap with a regular cruise experience. I understand that. So, you can go to shows during the day. You can go attend games. There's bingo. There's like family Disney trivia going on, all that kind of stuff. But I'll talk about the unique Disney experiences like character interaction. So you can go interact with characters just like you can at the parks, except with way less people. So you can see Chippendale, Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Daisy, all within legit 5 minutes because they're all in this huge cruise ship lobby, or they're out on the deck hanging out with people. It's just really, really cool. So there's Disney character interactions. You can go see, again, a first-run movie at their movie theater. At night at the evening, you can attend a straight-up Broadway-style show, and I'm not just saying that's not a marketing thing. I mean, it is, but it is legit Broadway quality shows in the evening. So on the Disney Dream, they were showing Beauty and the Beast, which is an insanely amazing show. And again, the stage tricks, the performers themselves, super, super talented folks, and do not miss any of the evening shows. All of them are great. So again, there's that in the evening time. During the day, you can go, again, chill on deck like any other cruise. But again, it's just different. They're showing Disney movies out on the, I think, what is it called? Something Vision. I don't know. Anyways, they got some cute name for the Funnel Vision. That's what it is. Funnel Vision out on the main deck, and you can watch Disney movies up there. They've got the Aqueduct, which is a straight up like water ride on the ship. So it's like a water tube ride. So you get on a raft, you hike up some stairs, and you are raftless. I take that back. They shoot rafts up on this automatic like escalator essentially for rafts up, so you don't have to lug it around the whole time. They'll provide it up there for you. So I take that back. But anyways, a straight up water ride on the ship, which is crazy. And you can go hang out in the spa. They've got a beautiful spa. You can go sit at one of the bars and do Disney trivia with your buddies. And then they've got a family version over in the, without alcohol over in one of the main game show areas. So again, it's very free form. I think I'm rambling at this point, but it is just a very, very relaxed environment. My wife and I feel the most relaxed during a Disney Cruise Line vacation. And again, it's just a different pace, right? You're not waking up at butt 30 to try and get a reservation for Rise of the Resistance. You're not standing in 100-degree heat for 45 minutes trying to get on whatever. It's just kind of see where the day takes you on these cruise vacations. And Disney has that extra magic, as many of you know. But yeah, I think, during this time, I'm not entirely sure what the experience is like during COVID. I know ships are at pretty much half capacity right now, so it may be a great time to go, only if you don't want to deal with people. But I know there are some limitations on, characters. You can't go up and hug them and stuff, but you can still say hi. They've just got something in between you so you don't get too close to them. Movies and stuff, I know they're spacing people out. For the shows at night, I think they added another show time so they can have even less people in the theater. So there are some kind of weird changes. You may like them, and it may be worth going right now so you can kind of experience this modified, hey, if you're not a person that wants to be around a ton of people, now's the time to go. And I know the prices are the lowest they've been in years because demand's, plummeted. So anyways, if you're interested in going, definitely check out, Disney Cruise Line, their website. Look at the itineraries. We've always done the 4-night out of Port Canaveral, and that goes to Nassau, which if you've been there is nothing special, so definitely stay on the ship. That's my recommendation. Stay on the ship and enjoy the amenities they have to offer and kind of what you paid for, don't just waste your time in Nassau. Again, harsh, I know, but not worth the effort. Second day, you go to Castaway Cay, which is worth every single penny. That is amazing. I won't go into too much detail on the island because, I mean, it's fun having surprises, but I will say there's a a family-only beach and an adult-only beach. So you can, you can get away if you're just an adult couple and you want to get away from all the riffraff and the craziness of the kids. You can head over to the adult side only. Or if you're a family and you want to hang out and, be around kind of the party scene, stay on the family side of the beach. But anyways, again, imagine Disney theming on an island, and it's everything you can ask for. So it's an amazing experience. And so again, I don't know if I'd fully recommend, only because I haven't been during this weird time to go right now, but it may be a good value if you enjoy being, by yourself or away from folks. So again, I feel like there's so much more to talk about, but that's kind of my just intro to the Disney Cruise Line. If you're interested in more info, maybe we can dive into kind of more details about the experience. But again, the Disney Cruise Line is amazing. And again, I just remembered one last thing, the stateroom, kind of the most important part, right? You stay there and you spend most of your time there. But yeah, we have splurged both times and stayed in a veranda room, which is their fancy way of saying balcony. And it is amazing. Again, having your own balcony at nighttime, you can just kind of hang out there, listen to the waves and all that good stuff. But again, let me differentiate it from the regular cruise experience. And I will say that Disney Cruise Line thinks about every little detail, and the rooms are amazing. Now, the main selling feature of these rooms are the split bathrooms. So there are two bathrooms essentially in this thing. One houses a sink and a toilet, and the other one has a sink as well and a shower. So one person can be getting ready in one, the other person can be showering. And, it's just a very convenient feature that they offer, and they definitely don't have to do it, but they chose to do it, again, because they're amazing. So, yeah, the rooms are great. I can only speak to the balcony rooms, and they are awesome. No complaints. They're amazing. And, sleep on a cruise is something else, man. I don't sleep as well anywhere else. In a hotel bed, at home. The Disney Cruise Line, man, again, I think just cruise ships in general just like rock you to sleep. I think that's the magic of them. So it is, it's amazing. I wake up feeling very well rested. And again, I think it makes me feel better about spending that much money on a cruise. But and again, if you have, I get motion sickness, so I was very concerned about being sick on this cruise. We weren't, because we chose to stay mid-ship. I guess there's less movement in the middle of the ship, and again, haven't really dealt with being sick on the cruise ship. They do a really good job at keeping that thing stable, and you're not rocking around everywhere. So again, I'm going to shut up now and close this podcast out. I've been talking enough. Thank you so much for listening. Again, I'm sorry for the kind of maze of a conversation we had today, but there's so much to cover about the Disney Cruise Line. I'm just so excited. It's just hard to cover everything and keeping it, short enough to where you stay interested and not an hour and a half. So again, thanks so much for listening. We'll be back. Actually, you know what? We're going to take next week off because of the small holiday of Thanksgiving. But next week we're going to take the week off, and we will return the following with some more Disney news and a Disney discussion. So again, thanks so much for listening. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Find us on Instagram at Market House Podcast. Follow us there for all the fun posts and stories and all the fun stuff there. Send us a message if you want to ask a question or just have a general comment. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy that turkey. Enjoy the mashed potatoes. Don't worry about calories. They don't count that day. And we'll see you here in a couple weeks. Have a good one.